So what if the ministry of reconciliation were really at the heart and core of churches and communities? What if that was the primary value out of which we lived our lives? What if that was the primary ministry and mission that we understood ourselves to be in? What would that look like? What would that feel like? What would that be like? Every walk of life meets conflict. It's inevitable. How do we meet conflict and one another in such a way that we're paying attention to God's call for us to restore, to reconcile, to continue God's good, vital work of creating justice and peace in this world?
But when you're starting to think about systems and patterns and practices and the historical relationships that produce and reproduce those notions of conflict, conflict transformation is looking at those in ways that you look beyond just the individual episode to kind of the core source of conflicts in ways that allow you to really shift systems, patterns, practices, so that we can take the energy that is created by those conflicts and then use it towards the kind of mutually beneficial way of being.
People are asking, how can we move from this place of polarization and this kind of behavior of if someone disagrees with us, we get into major conflict. But how can we learn to be honest about who we are with one another, while also being able to stay in connection, in relationship?
Like, how do we begin shifting systems, institutions, and eventually how do we shift culture so that the culture is more about a just peace and reconciliation and redemption?
How do we say we love God when we can't find our neighbors around us because we cut off or are in conflict with them?
It's not that we have to agree on the issue. We have to agree that we will always walk together, and that there's no issue that divides us so much that we would break communion with one another. And just that spirit, knowing that I can be fully embraced for the ideas that I have, and know that even if my ideas seem challenging or difficult, people may resist my ideas and they will never refuse me.
How do we change the culture? How do we create a culture where people honestly respect the dignity of another, whether we agree or not?
The intention is always the same: to build and to retain and to create sustainable communities where people have fundamentally equal access to the things that allow them as individuals and in the context of their culture and community to thrive. So that's what we're up to.
How do we regard another in this world? Are we called to be in right relationship with all of God's creation, or only those with whom we choose?
You know, how do you take this material and make it concrete, make it practical? So if clergy are a part of it, or laity are a part of it, they can bring it back into their congregations and really impact change.
And it's a belief system, it's an approach, an intention. It's cultivating or creating a space and an environment where we can authentically engage one another from where we are and how we've been shaped and formed in the places where we find ourselves.
If you have at any time in your life made a commitment for justice or peace, even a personal peace or a family peace, or tried to rebuild a relationship amongst friends, lost relationship in a congregation or in a community, you are on this path. And the idea is that some are more fully and some are more formally, and yet all of us are on a path toward justice and peace. And so join us.